This is just 20 minutes of a moderated discussion around action steps to take within the realm of information equity, inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, all those good things. I did create a rubric. My task force helped me create a rubric to help everyone with a place to start if this is something that's completely new for you. That should have gone out to everyone. I think Teresa shared that with everyone on last Friday, but if you need the link, I have it in Google and I'm going to drop that in the chat really quickly. Steps rubric, again, you don't need to use it, but if you're a rubric person, I find this stuff to be helpful, and everything in the rubric is purely suggestion. We tried to break it down to low, medium, and high commitment steps, as well as sort of phases of how you want to approach an initiative. And it can be so low key, or you can put all your eggs in this basket. Has anybody started thinking about what they would want to do with an initiative after today's conference? And if anybody hasn't started thinking about it at all, that's totally understandable. We've gotten a lot of incredible information today.
There really has been a lot of incredible information, Rosie, and I just stepped out of the older seniors breakout room, and there was a wonderful suggestion there for reaching that population, and that was working with teens to help bridge the digital divide with our seniors, helping them be their kind of like mentors or tutors and walking them through that process. And I love that whole intergenerational model, so that's one thing I'm excited about.
Absolutely. As a previous teen librarian, I always love to, I think that multi-generational library services are probably underutilized. Anybody else?
We had actually started to work on some much broader outreach programs right before COVID happened. So we were kind of on a path, and it's changed a little, obviously. But I think that now that we can see that we're in a kind of a shift a little bit, we're going to take the experiences we've learned in the last sort of year and a half and add that on and then move forward from there. So I don't believe that we had like a plan written down in paper the way that this one is kind of spread out, but I do like this because I think it will help us move forward now, kind of assess where we were before, what our plans were, how have those goals shifted, and where do we want to go in the future. So I know that outreach to a lot of places, especially some of the senior centers and some of those residential living areas that we have in our county, was a target for us to help do outreach to that we couldn't do. But we really would love to get back sort of on track with that, especially when we can all freely move about the respective buildings.
I think outreach is one of those things that is never going to be the same again post-COVID, but again, an opportunity for us to evaluate what was working and what wasn't, what we can throw out and what we can do differently, and really what we're capable of that we didn't think we could do before. Anybody else? I know we're all doing a lot. I mean, that's why you're all here, right? So everybody's got something going on. So even if it's something that you've already been doing, feel free to share, as this is probably one of the biggest idea generating days I've been a part of in a really long time. So keep sharing stuff.
I can keep going. So one thing that we did see a shift to during COVID, which we will be able to adapt now and change in a real way, is we have become much more mobile. We did not have the ability to work from any place besides our desk because we were really tethered, and now we're really not. So that's a great thing, because now we're starting to think of all the ways we can go set up at the park and bring our services there, or we can go set up at a school and bring our services there, where before it was like very paper-based and kind of just like, oh yeah, now come visit us at the library, when that person was there and we missed an opportunity. So there are some good things. We have like I said, we have the ability to be mobile. We have the ability to communicate with each other quickly and effectively amongst our own staff. So that makes me a little bit optimistic, because I feel like when we do go to roll out now, we will have more tools in place than we did before. And I think that being forced to challenge to think differently was really good. And that I don't think that we would have moved at this pace or this, this speed unless we had this unfortunate set of circumstances. So that's one thing I am thankful for, is that when when we have the opportunity to move, we will be able to do so and provide services in an even better way than we could before.
Just backing up on what Heather just mentioned. Yes, something I've always thought about is just, these problems, go beyond New Jersey to other cities, and there's so many cities doing things. I mean, San Francisco, I always think about how they have a bus where people who experience homelessness or who need it can shower, or resources to wash clothes. And, they're definitely, lots of, I guess, at least in my frame of thought, thinking outside the box, things I never pictured or knew about. And I think just, part of it has been my getting to travel, maybe right before the pandemic, but seeing all these, going to different libraries in different cities and seeing how people have sort of met these needs, and just thinking this is, things that we can carry back here, or advocate for, that are, like forward thinking in other cities. So I think keeping that communication open and ongoing is definitely big, that exchange of ideals. So
I don't know about anybody else, but it feels like libraries can do anything anymore. I mean, to Jessica's point in the last session, we shouldn't be overextending ourselves outside of our budget constraints, but whereas I think for a long time there was a lot of protective rhetoric around like libraries are free resources. This is free resources is no longer just books. It's not even it's no longer even just databases and things like that. It's literally anything we can connect people to, and that includes stuff like that bus. I will say one of the things I'm toying around with, and I'd be interested if anybody has any similar programs. I'd like to expand our library card criteria to allow organizations to have a library card where they can check out a larger amount, not just schools, but I'm specifically thinking of our device lending program. There's a lot of customers in our community who can't get a library card, so they can't check out a device, but the organization that serves them can. Has anybody done anything like that?
We have organization cards. So we have a lot of group homes in our area for adults. I guess it range when they age out of their school services from like age 18 all the way up through, I guess some of them are senior citizens at this point. So they come in and the caregivers have a card that's tied to the institution. And so everybody that comes in and wants to check out materials, they all get checked onto that card. So that way it sort of does free up that whole thing where each individual resident may not be able to obtain their own card, but the institution has one on their behalf. So we just enroll them as just a regular library card user. They have very similar borrowing privileges, and you can change, you could change it and allow them to take more items or less, or however you wanted to do it. And we have certain contact people in the institution listed in their records so that we know who we can contact if things are missing or we need to find them. But it works really well. When they come in, they have their card, they have everything on one account. They know what needs to come back, what needs to go out. So it works pretty well. There are some schools that we do that with too. So the school media center can take books out. We do it the same way.
Yeah, I believe we have educator cards so that some of the teachers, if they teach in the district, can get a card.
Has anyone done that with daycare centers?
That's a great point, Myra. Thank you.
Yeah, I know a couple of ours come over from the daycare, but I'm not sure whether some of them might also be Gloucester County residents anyway. But I know that some of them come over and get stuff for the daycare.
Thank you. Anybody else working on anything, like ruminating on anything that they want to try after today?
I will say that I won't speak out of turn, Ralph, but I will say that at Library Link, we have been talking, we're obviously not serving our communities, we're not serving the public, we're serving you guys, right? And we've been talking a lot lately about this idea of equity and like, what does it mean for us to be able to offer equitable opportunities to all of the libraries and library workers in New Jersey. And like I mentioned that we recently went through a grant process and someone said to us, like, it's great that you have these grants, but if you don't have the staff power to spend the time writing it, then that's not really very helpful if you have to fill out this giant application, or if we're competing against libraries that have grant writing departments, versus one school librarian in the whole district trying to get this grant done. Like, and those are big issues that we are considering. I wish we had a plan for like how we're going to solve that, and I don't think that we do. But certainly this conversation of equity and inclusion is one that we're having a lot of, because it's a big issue, when we talk about professional development, but rarely do we talk about staff development for non-professional staff. Like professional development abounds, but what about development for our staff members who are non-professional? So all of these issues are on our minds, and I would just like make a shameless plug that if you have thoughts or ideas for ways that we can support your libraries, your staff, your whatever, like please let us know, because we're having these conversations, but we certainly don't have all the answers. And so if there are things that we can do to help you serve your communities in these ways, it's definitely something we're looking at. Oh, and Ralph just put the email address in the chat. There's a suggestion box email address now, so you can just send your ideas along. They go to Ralph.
They go to me.
I love that is an email address that exists. That's actually a really good idea for a library. I mean, I would love to make one for our library that just says suggestion box, because I think our comment form on our website is hard to find and difficult to navigate. So something like this is way easier. I'm glad you touched on non-professional staff too, Darby. I think that I've been in a lot of rooms lately with library people where the conversation about librarians versus non-librarians comes up, because in most cases our non-librarian staff are doing what our librarian staff are doing, and I struggle with the value of our degree sometimes, because while I appreciate it and I do think it was worth it, almost everything I've learned of value has been on the floor on a library. So it's tough for me to see non-librarian staff be held back because they don't have that degree, so they're not making as much money or being given as many opportunities. So just a quick, and I think Dave had mentioned earlier the lack of reference points on the floor in libraries or information professionals. I think that in a world where you can't hire more librarians because your budget is strict, you can empower your other staff to be those information service points, but then you have to be careful that you're not, putting the burden on people who are not making the same as the ones who have the degree. It gets murky.
One thing I could offer is, since I am not a librarian, I am a support staff, is actually to promote Library Link to all staff. Because I think that the training that's built in is very helpful. And I know that I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am in today without it. I kind of stumbled upon it early on when I was a library assistant. And I'm always telling the staff in our library system about it. And I keep telling them that anyone can become part of this. They can get a login, but I don't know if all library staff across the board and across the state know that. So that might be something that would be beneficial, is to really kind of put it out there that you don't necessarily need to have that librarian title to be part of Library Link, you can take advantage of those trainings and the forums and everything, you know, just because you are a library worker in New Jersey. So that would be something that I would offer.
Thank you. That is like a really excellent point. And I think it's our hope eventually to be able to have the ability to kind of like stop in at like staff development day, or, you know, or do a little professional development, whatever, to kind of share what our services are with the entire library staff, rather than just the folks who are able to come to stuff like this, you know, because not everybody does know. And I think it's important that they feel welcome here. So thank you for that, Heather. I'm taking a note.
Marco, did you have something you wanted to add? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yes, just a quick chiming in here. Becoming a librarian for me, I really felt out of the network in a way. I really felt like I was kind of like without a mentor. So I think anything, you know, our little network can do is offer like mentorship or provide something like that, some kind of guidance for new librarians, especially, or new non-librarians, especially, you know.
I know we have the mentor NJ for Library Link, but I'm not, is that strictly professionals? I would confess I haven't dived into that before.
I literally didn't even have an account, you know, for Library Link until I had to sign up for this program and moderate discussion. So I'm the worst person to ask.
No, it's actually interesting, Marco, because one of the things that we've talked about with Library Link is like, it's not something that you join the same way you join like NJLA or something, where it's like, oh, I have to pay my dues and I have to renew my membership and I have to. So it's really easy to just kind of like not ever join until you want to register for a conference, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you sign up for your email address. So you are not by any means the worst person. You're actually probably the best person to ask, because this is definitely an issue we see. But Mentor NJ is for everyone, and that is another thing that we soon just put it in the chat, the link in the chat. So if anybody's if you're interested, Marco, you can get a mentor. But that's good to know that you didn't know it was available, because maybe we need to be at some of the program, you know, some of the master's programs or whatever, for the people who are going through it, so that they know as they're going through it that is available.
I'm going to keep an eye out for anyone who needs a mentor, though, definitely.
Yep.
I will also say one of the things, I'm not sure how involved everyone is in training new staff or onboarding new staff. I'm a big proponent of staff training staff orientation, and I try to mention these organizations whenever I'm having a conversation with the new staff members, because my very first library job, my library is not able to support me doing professional development. So I was in the game for a little while before I realized that I could have had a lot of mentorship and resources and support. Sorry, muted myself. So yeah, I think that if you're able to plug that in your orientation with new staff, regardless of their professional status, it could be really helpful. I think we're about to be done here. So thank you everyone so much. I hope that the rubric is useful, or you coming out of today with something that you feel excited about.
Looks like everybody's coming back here. I'll give it another minute. So at this point, I think we might have a few more people coming back, but does anybody want to share the action steps that they discussed in one of the 4 rooms? Now you can also add them to the Padlet if you'd like. I'm just going to add the link to the chat window, and that Padlet also has an embedded rubric that was created by the moderators for the action steps. So you might want to refer to that afterwards to further think about what you want to pursue at your library. Does anybody have any final thoughts to share? So we will be sending a link. It may take a little while to process, but we're going to be sending everybody a link to the keynote recording as well as the lightning talk recording. So there were 4 separate lightning talk sessions. The Padlets are going to remain up, and those are available from the program description page. Everybody's going to be emailed a link to a survey, a very brief survey that'll help us as we plan for the future. I want to extend a huge thank you to everybody who put so much work and effort into making this day happen. All of our presenters and Zoom moderators and moderated roundtable discussion leaders and sections and committees and everybody. It is really appreciated, and I hope that you all got a lot out of today. I know that I did.